So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Aston Villa fans, and welcome to further Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I am feverishly hoping that you guys can hear me here on my bars. My audio bars are going up and down, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I want to come and talk to you guys about Andreas Garcia, right back from Levante, who was linked with Villa on Monday, maybe Tuesday, and it now seems that Villa have sealed a €7 million deal for him for the Spanish second division right back. And I'm going to be really honest, there was a Twitter account, Villa Vibes, messaged me about Andreas Garcia and said that they liked the look of him on, I think it was Monday, might have been Tuesday. And I started taking a quick look at him, and then all of a sudden, just a cursory look at him. But then when the rumours started to come this morning, I watched one of his games, and since then I've watched actually 3 games. It's an incomplete scouting report, I have to say. This is new information that Garcia to Aston Villa maybe down the line. So I think it's somebody we want to discuss. I don't know the full ins and outs of him. Usually, as you guys know, I try to watch 5 games, or I try to watch cut-ups of their 5 games, specifically from MyScout, and then form my opinion on them that way. I do not mind. I'm not against watching the Europop laden YouTube videos for players as well, but I feel that you only ever get their good parts from those videos, which is brilliant, and you need to be able to know what they're really good at too. And you can see that with this guy in spades, what he's really good at. But being able to watch games in full and being able to watch like 45-minute or 50-minute or 60-minute cut-ups of those games is always really beneficial as well. So I've gotten to watch 3 of his games. I've also did something really strange that I don't usually do, and I went back and I watched a cut-up of one of his youth games that he played. Now, it was only 15 minutes on it, but it was an interesting one. And the reason I bring it up is I want to talk about it in a moment, just regards to the type of player I think that he was when he was 17, 18, and he is now at 21, soon to be 22 on the 7th of February. So, interesting player. As I said, Fabrizio Romano is reporting, as our Ravello are reporting, that €7 million deal is done, going to Aston Villa to be signed very, very soon. So what I want to do is I want to chat about why we might be going for this player first, and then we're going to look into this player in a moment. So a lot of things have started to come out. A lot of questions have started being asked on Twitter over the last 4 hours or so, 3 hours, 2 hours since this has really broken, and a lot of it surrounds what's happening. Why are we going for a younger player again? A 21-year-old, soon to be 22-year-old, Spanish second division. Is this really where Aston Villa should be shopping? What's going to happen to Costa? Does this mean that the Ned Costa is going to be sold? What's happening here? Is he any better than Matty Cash? Is he any worse than Matty Cash? And I suppose anybody that can sit here and that can tell you that this guy's a better defender or a better attacking player than Matty Cash in the Premier League ain't really telling you the truth at the moment, because there's no way that they can know. I want to park that phrase as well for a moment, because we'll discuss that when we go looking at statistics in a moment as well, because this guy's extremely promising in a lot of ways, and other things that I've seen, intangibles that I've seen as well from some of the games, based on one of the games he had pretty much a shocker in, that was against Cordoba, and the next game he came back against Albacete. We'll speak about it in a moment, and he had a much more mature and polished performance. But so going back to what happens with the current crop of players that we have, the Matty Cashes, the Nedeljkovic's and so on that are there at the minute, I think that this is an opportunity cost signing. 7 million for an up-and-coming right back that's getting a lot of flowers in La Liga. Sporting Lisbon, or Sporting FC, have been, or CF actually, in Lisbon, have been, they more or less we're going to do the deal on this guy, and it seems that Villa have jumped in and gazumped him and gotten this deal done. So other clubs have been looking to sign this player. He's a young up-and-coming player, but what does it mean for the guys we have already? I think this facilitates potential squad churn over the next 18 to 24 months. You don't want to be in a situation like we were this year, where potentially we're selling Douglas Luiz and having to replace him, bring in Ross Barkley in there. And yes, you've got Yuri Tielemans, who's been the man who's come in, but you don't really have that that double layer of succession behind a pivotal player like Douglas Luiz. You certainly don't want that in the full back positions. I don't think at the moment. It's why we've got Ian Matson on the left hand side. It's why we've signed Yashin Ozkan as well, left sided player, left back, left centre half. Luca Dean ain't going to go on forever, as is Matty Cash. Now Matty Cash's value is still pretty high at the moment, Polish international. So this gives us an opportunity for Aston Villa to maybe send Ned out on loan, who isn't getting much game time at the moment. Bring this guy in, get him to learn under Unai Emery behind Matty Cash, and with the ability for him to come off the bench and play for Matty Cash. And I know that hasn't happened with Ned so far, but that's not to say that won't happen with this guy, because he's a different type of player to Kostan Angelkovic. So I think there's a smartness to signing players like this, and a smartness to having a transfer policy, I suppose, like this. Does it butter the parsnips with the people who think we should go for Kyle Walker-Peters or go for Kyle Walker himself? No, it's not going to butter their parsnips, and that's fine. I'm not here to convince people that they should be absolutely delighted with this, but I'm here to try and tell you maybe where the potential hypothesis of this transfer merry-go-round, if you want to call it, is going to go. That we get to keep playing Matty Cash, get to keep his value high. There will be a team that will spend 20 million euros on Matty Cash within the next 12 months. I know that might be hard for some people to believe, but there is teams that will do that, and you want to keep his value high so that when he goes, you bring in these guys, and between these two guys together, essentially you're talking 15 million euros to replace somebody that you've sold for 20 million. So that's the potential top points here. Now, why am I starting with that? Is because I think a lot of people are asking that, and a lot of people are expecting this fella to come out the traps and be brilliant. And he may very well be that. He may very well be brilliant when he comes out the traps, because he's a very exciting player. He's 6'1". He's a powerful runner with the ball. And that's what he's that's how he's different to the two players that we have at the moment in Ned and in Matty Cash. We've spoken about ball carriers. I've spoken about wing play and ball carriers for Aston Villa over the last couple of months, that it is non-existent outside of Morgan Rogers. You bring in someone like Daniel Malin, who's able to run that ball on that right-hand side. You bring in this guy. He's a different horse for a different course, that's able to progress the ball forward by running it. Very confident, competent, technical player. Matty Cash ain't bad at it either, but we all know that Matty Cash tucks back sometimes and doesn't drive into the box. This guy has that youthful exuberance. He drives into the box. He reminds me an awful lot of one of the other guys, Andrea Ratiu, that we profiled as well. Excuse me, that we profiled. Reminds me an awful lot of that type of player. So that also leads me to believe that Aston Villa have a type of player they want to play at fullback, specifically a right fullback. Oscar Mingueza was very much more on the attacking side. In a one-to-one duels, I thought he was blown past. I just thought he was a bit lightweight for my liking, but a fine player, absolutely fine player. This guy, once again, you talk about opportunity cost. This guy for 13 million less euros doesn't give you much of a drop down from that raw talent ability that you would get from somebody like Mingueza. He's not been tested at the top level of Spanish football like Mingueza, but the drop down from what you can see his raw talents isn't stark, if that makes sense. It's not stark. He still offers you that ball carrying ability. He still offers you that running ability. And we think when we were linked with Wesley Franca as well, that's what he brought to the game. Pace, latent pace, outright running ability, being able to invert, cut in field. While this fellow won't do that in the cutting in field side of things, he will progress the ball forward and carry it. So we're going to take a look at some of his stats in a moment. Really promising player, good going both ways. Very decent in defense, loves a tackle, loves to go off his feet and tackle from two of the games I saw anyway, and is very well able to stand up and shepherd crossers of the ball as well. One of the games, Albacete, and actually Cadiz as well to a lesser degree. Cadiz is the last game he played. I think that was only just in the weekend gone. They kind of threw the kitchen sink at him in a defensive point of view, and he was able to stand up to it. Cadiz also, if I'm not mistaken, were in La Liga last year. and I think they got relegated. I could be wrong on that, but they're a formidable enough outfit. They've bounced between La Liga and the Segunda League, and so it's much of a muchness, I think, from that point of view with regards to playing against lower league La Liga teams, and he coped very, very competently. So let me stop talking and bring up some of my statistics sheet on him. So Andreas Garcia, 6'1", he's right-footed, and happy birthday to him on the 7th of February. He would be 22 years of age. So first thing I want to bring you to is his heat map at the bottom of the screen there. And it's like it's red everywhere on that right-hand side. And I know you see for fullbacks, it's red everywhere on that right-hand side. But remember I mentioned that he, excuse me, that Wesley Franca kind of cut inside and inverted into more central positions. You aren't going to get that with this guy. But Unai Emery doesn't play that. Unai Emery doesn't want to play that. And I know we talk about it being the haute couture, lovely new thing that we invert our fullbacks and stuff like that. We don't do that. Aston Villa Football Club do not do that. So we shouldn't be signing players that are looking to invert. We shouldn't do it if Unai Emery doesn't want to do it. And this guy in the main does not do that. And I'm absolutely fine with that. The person that comes into that inverted area is already there, and he's inverted due to the nature of his position, and that's Boubacar Kamara. And we don't want to see Boubacar Kamara moving out of that position, I don't think, based on what he's done so far. But when you look at the profile of where this fella plays and how he plays, and when you watch games in how he plays as well, and if you are watching some of his footage, he's number 2 for Levante, and he's also number 17 as well. So just remember that if you're watching YouTube videos and you're thinking, where the hell is he? He's number 17 in some of them, he's number 2 in others. Obviously, he's changed his number over the years. And specifically, when I was watching him in some youth games, he's number 17 and he's back as well. So what I think this guy is a nice fit for what Unai Emery wants to do is, if we look at how Matty Cash has been allowed to go further forward in the last couple of games, and we think about Unai Emery as tied with 3 at the back. And I'm not saying we're going to 3 at the back and this guy's a wing back. That's not what I'm saying. This guy's perfectly capable of playing in a back 4. What I'm saying with regards to this is that a touchline hugger when Boubacar Kamara goes back and covers for him is exactly what we want. And a progressor of the ball who's comfortable, technical and competent carrying that ball forward, which allows Daniel Malin to cut inside or to maybe come back into a more central position. So use your wingers to become inverted in attack. I'm absolutely fine with that. And if you've got an overlapping fullback like this, and you have an absolute Rolls Royce and a gem of a player like Boubacar Kamara that can cover for him and do what he does best back there, well, why don't you do that? And that's what this guy can do. He can attack, he can counter-attack, he can run forward with the ball. He's not a passer of the ball. Sorry, I want to go back on that. It's not that he's not a passer of the ball. That makes him sound like he can't do it. Yes, he can. He can pass the ball. His statistics don't back up him being a passer of the ball. And the reason that they don't do that is because he is the attacking go-forward outlet for Levante on that right-hand side. So he has been tasked with ball carrying, and I see nothing to tell me that if you come to the Premier League, you're going to eke that out of his game. I could be wrong. And you can see it here. Like his defensive ability, his recoveries, his athleticism around the field is really apparent. As I say, he's 6'1". Even when he crouches into a defensive position, when he's trying to shepherd wingers and stuff like that, he still cuts a bigger guy, a more imposing figure. You know, when you see Oscar Mingueza, doing that, he's a slender body type. You know, he gets low, he gets slender, he gets thin. And that's all well and good when you're carrying the ball and you want to get in between players and, you know, you want to be nimble and get around players. When you're defending the ball, you need to make yourself big. I think everybody knows that. And this guy is naturally bigger, and he's naturally... and look, I'm going to come out and say it. I prefer that type of body type, a more rounded, fuller, muscular, athletic body type than I do the more slender types. It was one of my things with Alex Moreno as well, that if I had, like, the man was beautiful, he looked exactly like me. If there was one thing that I could fault Moreno for at times, is he made himself very small when he got out to tackle and got out to block. And I prefer my fullbacks not to do that. I prefer my fullbacks certainly not to do that. If they could at all, it would be really, really nice. Sorry, there's something mad going on here. I think La Liga, every time I talk about a La Liga player, something goes wrong with my stream. So I think La Liga are still on to me, whatever's going on. But yes, look at him here in comparison with our incumbents. Tackles and interceptions up there with what Matty Cash does at the moment. And look, we have to say, Matty Cash is pretty decent at going to ground tackling. And you know, we don't intercept the ball a lot in the wide positions. We allow players to run at us, and we shepherd people to the left and to the right. And that's how we play. We are confident in shepherding people and keeping them out there. That's the containment aspect that Unai Emery brings in, and I've absolutely no problem with it. Where we're going to see massive differences in this guy is his ability to recover the ball on the ground. That's one thing about Matty Cash. When you get into that shepherding, that contained phase of defense, you know, you have to be able to engage at some stage. This guy engages. This guy can go to ground and he can tackle, or this guy can step in and rob the ball off you and carry it forward. He shows some very good natural ability at doing that. Crosses the ball. We can see there his crosses, nearly 5 crosses per game. We don't cross the ball an awful lot from a Matty Cash point of view, or even from an Ezri Konsa point of view. So do we want more crosses? Yes, they'll have to be the right crosses. I've seen this guy in 3 instances, 3 instances in the game against, I'm going to say Cadiz, because the yellow jerseys stand out, but it could have been Albacete as well. I might be confusing yellow for white. And the crosses were very much cut back crosses, which we know we like. You know, so I can't give a full scouting report on this guy to say, yeah, he'll stand and he'll deliver from deep positions like Luca Dean will, because I haven't seen enough of him to do that. But what I have seen is cut back crosses look pretty on point to me as well. Like, as I say, he's a different type of fullback, a different type of fullback. You can call him a more attacking fullback if you wish, but he's something that I feel we need. We need more pace in the team. We need more carrying ability in the team. We need more variance in the team, because God knows we've seen it so many times that, you know, we've gone back and forth, we've gone across the field, and we've got nobody who's confident in dropping the shoulder and carrying the ball. And I'm not saying that this guy will do this from tight spaces, but what he will do is he will get you from your defense to your mid transition very, very quickly. And he will need to be coached. He will need adaptation to the Premier League. He absolutely will need that. And arguably, that's what Kostan Nedeljkovic is going through at the moment. And now what the club, I could argue that the club haven't used him because he's going through that adaptation. It's not easy for a 19-year-old to do that, regardless if you have all the physical traits in the world. It's not easy to adapt to the Premier League and to adapt to the methodical approach and professorial-like approach that Unai Emery brings to the game. So maybe now they see this as a situation whereby, all right, Costa, we need to get minutes in your legs now. So we're going to send you, okay, we're confident that you can adapt fully to senior football. You've played a bit of it in Serbia. Now we want to move you to a team that plays something similar to what we're playing at the moment, and we want to stay in contact with you and get you minutes into your legs to continue your growth. This guy comes in, he gets his adaptation to the Premier League and to Champions League football, coming off the bench, being a role player within this team. He's a bit more fully formed than Kostan Nedeljkovic was when Nedeljkovic joined us. I think Nedeljkovic was very raw and super exciting, and I do not want to sell him at all because I'm really high on Nedeljkovic, but I can see the methodology with regards to this. Whether I'm right or wrong, or whether I don't know, but I can see the methodology with it. So yeah, from that point of view, I think if I was an Aston Villa player, or if I was an Aston Villa registered player at the moment, the one player I think I would be pretty miffed about this if I had a connection to Aston Villa would be Ken Kessler-Hayden, because he's somebody who can play this type of football. He's playing it with in the championship at the moment, and I suppose his future will be maybe PSR related in time to come. But your what you call it, your pipeline of players, specifically in the fullback positions, do you want to be spending 20-30 million on every position? Do you want to spend 30 million on a right back when he's 24 years of age? Or do you want to spend 7 million on a right back that could become a 30 million pound player in 3 years' time before he becomes that 30 million pound player? What I'm saying, what I'm getting at here is, in a PSR related situation, you just can't throw money at every problem. All clubs, specifically Aston Villa, that don't have a 700 million person fan base worldwide. They don't have people all around the world. Well, we do, but to the extent of a Man United, a Real Madrid, a Liverpool, a Chelsea, dropping money left, right, and centre to keep the coffers flowing. We don't have that. We need to be smart. We don't have it yet, but we need to be smart in our scouting. And scouting guys like this guy, like Yashin Ozkan, like Kostin Nedeljkovic, like Teodem Gomez, who I haven't done anything on at the moment, like Morgan Rogers, like John Duran, getting them in the team before they become the player. Get them as the player you want before they become the player you need. That's my philosophy in transfers and specifically on scouting. Will this pay off and be that way? I don't know. But the philosophy around it to me makes 100% sense in this PR-laden environment. It makes 100% sense. So last little point on this guy, on Andreas Garcia, as I say, very, very balanced player, youthful, has a bit of learning to do in a couple of areas. I did speak about 3 games I watched against Albacete and Cordoba, are the 2 games I want to focus on. If you can find the game he played against Cordoba, and you can see that what Cordoba did was they pushed 2 men out on him at all times. They kept him back. They kept him pinned back more so than... Sorry, they tried to pin him back, but what he was doing was very exuberant and going forward. So he was actually going too far forward, but they had 2 men out on his side, so they were able to counter-attack into the space that he left behind. He ended up giving away a penalty in that instance. In that game, should I say, and he didn't have a great game. He only completed 50% of his passes. They were on him like white on rice, and they were on more so when he wasn't on the ball. They were on the space that he was vacating. That can happen to a young player. Go and watch that game and let me know what you think. If you can find it somewhere, go watch it and let me know if you think the same as me in the comments below, because I'd love to know that. And hit a like on this if you don't mind. Then we see him against Albacete. Albacete the next day. Albacete turn around and they go, "Do you know what we're going to do? We're going to throw the kitchen sink at this lad. Young fella playing in it right back." So they did that. And what he did was he adjusted his starting position to maybe about 10 yards back, or 5 to 10 yards back further in the field. Think similar actually to Ian Matson when we played West Ham. Matson adjusted his starting position to be a bit further far back. He could get a run on players then. And Albacete threw the kitchen sink at this guy at times, and he had a sterling game. He was really solid in that game. He was able to get forward, he was able to get back. His pass attempts were up in the mid-80s, if I'm not mistaken, percentages, and you know, he dealt with everything that was thrown at him. And then you forward on to Cadiz. Was it the Cadiz game or was it the I'm getting confused now if it was the Cadiz game or it was even the Tenerife game that I started watching. But what I'm getting at here was the fact that he had a bad game, gave away a penalty, was a small bit out of position, was being attacked. They found the third on the field and they went for it. He adapted, was coached, was malleable, and didn't lose his good points by adapting to these points that he was asked to look after in the second game. And that to me is really, really good to see. He didn't look phased. He backed himself, and he was able to do what he was told. He was either able to do what he was told, or he understood it himself and was able to make the adjustments himself. And we'll never know what the hell happened in that, but you can see it in the game. He's much more measured. He knows he has the pace and the ability, the stamina, the pace, the injection of a bit of sparkle to be able to get forward in those positions, even if he starts that 5-6 yards further back. But being that 5-6 yards further back stops the passing lanes. So it may not, you may be marking a player further up, but it's the space you're leaving behind that people can attack and get into. And if that causes hassle for your centre halves, makes you have to backpedal, and in instances like that game against Cordoba, if it then passages of play end up to you committing a foul that leads to a penalty, well, then you have to adapt to those. And I feel that he did. Once again, watch those 2 games. If you can find them, watch them. Please do. If you want another game, I've just started watching it. They beat Tenerife 3-0. I think it was Tenerife. Yeah, it was Tenerife 3-0. I've started watching that game, but I haven't finished. He's looking to have an absolute banger of a game in that game so far. So of the 4 games I've watched, he's had 2 above average. And what I mean by that, extremely solid, good games. He seems to be having a banger of a game in this Tenerife one. And against Cordoba, he made a mistake. He made a couple of mistakes, but he came back from it then and was able to adjust himself in the game and didn't look phased. So I hope that that has given you guys a bit more of an insight on him. If I was to give my newly formed numbers that mean absolutely nothing, but they make me feel happy on this transfer, defensive ability, I give him a 70. I really like what I see from him from a defensive point of view. Just his body shape when he goes into shadowing and contain defense, the fact he can go at the ground, the fact that his aerial statistics don't look very good, but he doesn't get caught in the air from what I've seen so far anyway. Once again, small sample set, but I think defensively I'm really intrigued with him. He's active, he gets around the place, and he's able to keep his to keep his discipline on that side. His attacking ability is what stands out. He's lightning fast. Everybody's going to talk about those goals he scored, like the one he pings in from the edge of the area with his right foot on a half volley, and then the other one where he goes up the field, cuts inside on his left foot, and absolutely sparkles it into the top corner. The guy has got rockets in his boots, not only when he's running, but also when he kicks the ball too. That's a massive plus point. But when I talk about attacking ability, what I'm talking about is his ability to go on that overlap, his ability to keep another fullback honest, his ability to make sure that if that right winger doesn't chase him back, that right winger is going to have somebody in midfield giving out to him for not chasing back Garcia, because Garcia will get away from him pretty quickly. With regards to a system fit, I've given this a 65. I don't have any concerns over a system fit. The reason for this is if Unai Emery is going to continue to go down the Boubacar Kamara slots into the third centre half, right-sided centre half position, this guy is perfect. He's really good in that overlap, and I think he would be very beneficial there. And the transfer possibility I've put is 90% here. Reason for that is it seems to be reported by pretty much everyone that this is a done deal. But there's guys from Lisbon that are Sporting fans that have messaged me to say, don't rule out Sporting at the last minute here, that they were really, really interested in him, and that it seems that Sporting are spitting feathers that they didn't get this guy. So that's the only reason I put it at 90% and not 100%. So they are my little ratings that don't really mean a whole pile in the greater scheme of things, but they make me feel happy. So I'm going to come to some of your comments here just very quickly, because I need to wrap this up because I need to be somewhere. So great, you guys can hear me perfect. That's fantastic. So Josh Norris says, see how Garcia looks, get Costa experience on loan. Yeah, lines up with cash sale this summer to get cheaper and younger at the position with two players who will have experience in the system. I think that's, I mentioned that as well. So Josh, you're on the same wavelength as me, man. It's great to have that, one of the foremost NFL draft guys, and you taking time out in January, and it's mad draft season coming up. You should be. That's an honor to have you watching this when it's mad draft season at the moment, because Senior Bowl coming up in a couple of weeks' time. But yes, I agree with you there. I think that's what it is. I think this is future proofing and future planning. Not to say that Matty Cash does get sold, but let's say Costa goes on loan, doesn't cut the mustard, and some team wants to give us 15 million for him. It gives you options. That's what I'm saying here. I think Costa goes and elevates his game and comes back here an absolute superstar. I really do. I think this guy can be really good, but you're better off looking at 3 really saleable assets in that position and then making your choice on which 2 you prefer, than having only one and then needing and having that massive need to go out and get somebody else and having to overspend on 10, 15, 20 million on a right back or a left back. I think I think from the allocation of resources, getting in cheaper players with opportunity cost, younger players that you can build up before they are the player you need, as I say, get the player you want before they become a player you need. I think that's what they've done in this instance, and it hopefully will bear massive fruit for Aston Villa, because we're buying these guys in at 7 and 8 million euros. Chelsea are buying them in at 20 and 25 million euros. And that's the difference in the two strategies. So yes, we're not loaning out every Tom, Dick and Harry we buy to another club that's part of our empire. But what we're doing is we're strategically buying for our opportunity cost. I think that's what I think as well. If you see Sados calls him the Spanish Cafu, we can call him the Spanish Hutton. If he's the Spanish Hutton, we'll be happy out. Where is he? Oh no! Dennis Law passed away. R.I.P. Dennis Law. What a player! What a player! I didn't see that earlier on. Sad to hear that now. So where else are we as well? So Cloudy says the 4 times net Nedeljkovic has made an appearance, not been given a go. No, he hasn't. But as I say, I think that's very much an adaptation to the league type of thing. There's nothing that leads me to believe that the club are washing their hands of Costa Nedeljkovic from an ability point of view. They'd be silly to, because I think that it would be I think it would be a wrong move. Let's just say, without getting into it too much. Where else are we? Whisper says Costa was popping up on the other side of the field when he played in several games. I think that was one game, and I can't remember. I think it was against Crystal Palace in the League Cup, and we made a reference to it. It was just funny, but I still have no problem with Costa Nedeljkovic at all. Yeah, Duncan Kilburn, thanks for reminding me. He says Garcia is a right back, right midfielder, a cash upgrade, basically. Not a cash upgrade at the moment. But the potential to be a cash upgrade for sure. Yes, you mentioned something. I did watch one of his games as a youth player, and what struck me was he was actually playing in central midfield. It looked to me, I didn't have any team sheet lineup, but it looked to me as if he was playing in central midfield. And we know Matty Cash has done that before. And Matty Cash has played at right midfield. And yes, he did play at right midfield as a youth player also. But I just found it interesting that, when we talk about his technical ability and his ability on the ball, he was also a big boy then as well. He was a fully rounded strong individual at that age. So this isn't like he seems like he's always had an athletic build, even as a young player as well. But that's what I wanted to bring up, that a couple of those games I saw him play, he was very much getting stuck in the middle of the midfield, creating chances in the middle of midfield. When I talked about him being not being an inverted right back, I don't think he is. He probably has that ability from his youth games, but I don't think Unai Emery wants that. And we hear that an awful lot, that he has the opportunity or he's the potential to invert. Some teams don't want that, and not every team plays the same. And unless anybody can give me hard cold facts, Unai Emery does not want this in this football team at this current moment in time. So I don't think it's a massive discussion point for what he will want us to do with this with a right back, and I don't think he will want this guy to do it either. Where else are we? Excuse me. I'm hitting the nail on the head. Thank you very much. I hope I'm hitting the nail on the head. A lot of stuff. Lucas says he's having his medical tomorrow. Brilliant stuff. I'd love that. Wouldn't it be great if we had a double signing of himself and Loic Bade, if that one was to go through as well. John Harris says sounds like a promising player. Exactly. That's what I think this guy is, a real promising player. As I say, once again, I'm going to get it nearly printed on a t-shirt at this stage. If you're scouting, get the player you want before he becomes the player you need. And if you can get him for 7 million euros, do the calculations on that, guys. I think, what is it, about 5.8, 5.9 million pounds. Well, as I said in my tweet, there are people out there that will pay about 5.9 million pounds for Paddy Kelly. For Villa Paddy, and at the moment the way the transfer market is gone, so if you can get a player that you strongly believe in for that price and bring him towards that 25, 30, 40 million pound mark, it's just smart business all around. And the beauty about it is we're picking good players as well, which is nice to see as well. Right, so guys, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for all your time. I really appreciate it. And we haven't done an Arsenal preview. We're not going to do an Arsenal preview. Just time has gotten away from us. I do hope to be back with a team sheet tantrum tomorrow as well. I don't want to be saying that we're not going to have a team sheet tantrum, but I am putting a small bit of doubt in there as well, just to have commitments with stuff here. But we will effort to get on for a team sheet tantrum and definitely be here for a post-match for Arsenal tomorrow. So join us for that. Love you all. Thanks a million. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.